Let's talk about directional terminology as it applies to the human body. Understanding and having the same terminology and language between individuals or a group of individuals is super important. So we know exactly what region of the body we're talking about. Are we talking about right or left, top or bottom? This is relevant in medicine, and it's certainly relevant in this class. So let's get started on some basic terms. Superior and inferior. Superior is towards the top and inferior is towards the bottom. Now, all of these directional terms are relative terms. For example, it doesn't make any sense to say the chin right here, that the chin is superior. Certainly, it's closer to the top of the head than most parts of the body, but the chin is inferior to the nose. So you, generally speaking, have to compare two different structures. For example, the only structure on this particular body that I could say is superior would be this part of the hair, because that's the topmost part of this body. So these are relative terms. The chin is also inferior to the mouth, but it is superior to the hands. Superior is towards the top, inferior is towards the bottom. Once again, superior. The eye right here is superior to the nose, but the eye is inferior to the hair. Anterior and posterior. Anterior is towards the front. Posterior is towards the back or towards the rear. Once again, these are relative terms. If we look at the eye right here, the eye is fairly anterior with regards to this whole head, but the eye is actually posterior to the nose. So we could correctly say the eye is anterior to the ear, but posterior to the nose. Anterior is towards the front, posterior is towards the rear. Two other terms we're going to talk about here are medial and lateral. And to do this, I just want to show this invisible line. It's not really invisible because I have it drawn here in this slide, but there's a line going right down the middle of this person. Anything closer to that midline is known as medial. Anything further away from the midline is known as lateral. Keep in mind, these are relative terms. But I want to stop for a second and highlight one thing. This individual, and this is the case if we were looking at a cadaver on a table or a patient on a bed or anything within this class, whether it's an organ like the heart or the whole human body like we see here, this is in standard anatomical position. And we always describe things in reference to standard anatomical position. In standard anatomical position, the individual is facing forward or the organ is facing forward. The palms of the hands are facing forward. The thumbs are out to the sides. And truth be known, they don't have to be pointed out to the side like I have it drawn in this image. They could be pointed down, but the thumbs would be the furthest away from the midline, which is known as lateral, and I'll get into that in a second. And the feet are pointed forward. It's a bit challenging to have the feet pointed towards the back. Nonetheless, I just want to highlight standard anatomical position is this with the palms of the hands facing forward. So once again, the terms medial and lateral are in reference to the midline. So if we just look at the digits of this hand right here, the pinky is the most medial of these fingers, but let's just look at the middle finger right here. That middle finger is medial to the thumb. Once again, these are relative terms. The middle finger is medial to the thumb because that is suggesting it's closer to the midline than the thumb is. But the middle finger is lateral to the little finger, meaning it's further away from the midline than the middle finger is. If we take, say, up here in the head, we have a cheek here. The cheek is medial to the outer part of the ear, suggesting the cheek is closer to the midline. This part of the hair is lateral to this eye, meaning it's further away from the midline than that eye is. So medial and lateral are in reference to the invisible midline going right down the middle of the body, superior, inferior, top, bottom, and anterior and posterior towards the front and towards the back.